There is a room behind the world, not made of walls or wood, but of thought, a space inside the space. Most people don't notice it. They walk past its door every day, never turning the handle. But if you do, if you step inside, the noise dims, the light changes, and something begins to open. This is the room where philosophy lives, not as a subject, but as a state of being. Not the kind you studied for a midterm, but the kind you fall into late at night, long after anyone's watching. The kind that doesn't have a name yet. For those of us who've been living here for years, decades even, this is not a hobby. This is home, and it's not all bliss. Sometimes it's madness. Sometimes the ceiling starts spinning. But the pleasures, when they come, are holy, like drinking from a deeper well than the world said was there. What is this practice, really, this lifelong thinking, this compulsive wondering? It is the art of holding questions without needing them to finish. It is the joy of walking into a thought not to escape life, but to meet it at a different angle, a deeper frequency, the one beneath appearances. It's the pleasure of a phrase turning over in your mind for a week until it breaks open like fruit, the pleasure of wrestling with a paradox and finding, against all odds, that it doesn't need to resolve to be beautiful. It's the slow work of turning your own life into a case study, the willingness to watch your mind react, withdraw, defend, deceive, recover, the shocking moment you realize you're not done yet, the quieter moment when you realize you never will be, and that this is good. Philosophical contemplation is one of the last sacred spaces in a world addicted to speed. It doesn't promise you a brand. It won't make you money. It rarely ends in a conclusion neat enough for Twitter. It is not optimized for utility. And yet, it gives you a kind of strength that nothing else can. Not the strength to dominate or convince, but the strength to stand in the storm of ambiguity without needing to flee. You begin to see patterns where others only see events. You start to recognize when someone is speaking from pain, not position. You learn to notice the thing behind the thing, and it changes how you move through the world. You begin to prefer slow talk to fast answers. You start to see people not just as what they say, but what they're defending, what they long for, what they fear. You watch ideologies like weather fronts, strong, shifting, dangerous, but ultimately passing. You laugh more quietly and cry more freely. This is not weakness, this is clarity, and clarity once tasted is hard to forget. Of course, this kind of life isn't for everyone. It's not meant to be. Not everyone wants to follow a question all the way down. Some people are building things, some are surviving. But if you do have that itch, if you felt the pull to contemplate not just your next move, but the meaning behind movement itself, then you know what I'm talking about. You felt the ache of watching two ideas clash in your chest and realizing both might be true. You've woken at night with a sentence in your head that won't leave you alone. You've noticed the silence after a hard truth and thought, yes, that's the sound of something real. It's not glamorous, no one's giving out awards, but the contemplative life, if you're called to it, is one of the richest ways to be alive. It turns the whole world into a kind of temple, where even pain has a shape, even confusion has texture, and even endings point to something larger. And perhaps the deepest pleasure of all is this. You start to see your own mind not as a weapon or a fortress or a trap, but as a garden, something to tend, to marvel at, to walk through slowly with wonder. Speculation becomes prayer. Reason becomes rhythm. And thought itself becomes a kind of love. Not love for answers, but love for the living dance of consciousness that brought you here, to this moment, to this page, to this breath. If you know that feeling, you're not alone. Some of us are still sitting in the quiet room at the back of the world, thinking, smiling, waiting to see what the next thought might bring.